What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the first ever episode of Rebel Roundtable, the first ever podcast to be a part of Rebel Sportsnet. Rebel Sportsnet is actually launching today, the day we are recording, which is September 29th. My name is Miley Palacios, and I'm here with my co-host, Thomas Gabo.
Yeah, what's up? I'm Thomas, and I'm super excited to be on this podcast, and it's actually a funny story how we met, Miley.
Yeah, so we were in our, 213? Yeah, our audio announcing class, and we were talking a little bit about what we want to do in the future, what kind of sports we like. Of course, I had to say the Dodgers. Thomas had to say, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and he was talking about Paul Skeens. And I turned around, and I was like, oh my gosh, baseball. Yeah, we got to get on that. And then we head into Rebel Report the next day, and I do my introduction. I'm talking about how I am really into audio. I've had 2 summers worth of experience at a radio station back home, KVCR, and we just started talking about the idea of having a podcast. And because I'd met Thomas the day before, we were like, let's lock in on that.
Yeah, I mean, having a podcast, all this stuff is pretty new to me, but, I'm really excited, and, Miley has the proper experience to guide us in the right direction.
Yeah, so we're just going to be introducing ourselves for a little bit. As I've already said, I am Miley Palacios. I am a second-year student here at UNLV. I am a journalism major, obviously, with concentrations in audio announcing and sports media. I really hope to go into either play-by-play or broadcast. For baseball, I would love to work for the MLB, as I've said, the Dodgers. But I am willing to do anything, work for anyone in baseball, and yeah, I'm really excited to get this podcast up and coming. So, Thomas, what about you?
Right. Like stated before, I'm Thomas Gabo. I am a junior here at UNLV with a concentration in sports media, obviously journalism media studies major, but a concentration in sports media. My overall dream is to play-by-play broadcast for either football or basketball, just because I've been playing football and basketball all my life, and yeah.
Yeah, so the way that this podcast will be working, we have our 3 main sports, which is going to be starting football, then basketball and baseball. But there's so many sports at this school, so we decided every couple weeks, every other week, we haven't exactly planned that out perfectly yet. We are going to be also focusing on another sport. So I know we have a golf episode coming up. We have a hockey episode coming up. That'll be with our RSN colleagues, Ricky Lust and Kyle Sparrow. Shout out to you guys. Of course, this first episode, we have to introduce ourselves. We'll be doing a little bit of NFL, a little bit of UNLV sports coming in from last week, and then we'll be finishing up with a preview of UNLV Rebels versus the Wyoming Cowboys football game this weekend. So, yeah, Thomas, start us off with the NFL this past weekend.
Yeah, so kind of what happened over the weekend in the NFL, starting with our hometown Las Vegas Raiders, falling to 1-3 against the Bears on a blocked field goal at the end of the game. Did you get a chance to watch that game, Miley?
So, I was actually in my dorm, and I was just keeping up with the score. I just kept looking it up, checking, I was really excited. Fourth quarter, Raiders are winning 24-20. And, I checked the score like 3 minutes later, and they were no longer winning. And that's very unfortunate. But, it's okay. It's early in the season still. We still got a lot of games left. So hoping the Raiders can be able to pick themselves back up.
Right, but Ashton Jeanty did look really good yesterday.
I have to admit he did look really good, but unfortunately, Geno Smith, he's got to pick up the slack. He's not doing his greatest right now.
Right, so going back to that, the Seahawks hold off the Cardinals on Thursday Night Football, then the Steelers, my Pittsburgh Steelers, win in Dublin against the Vikings on a stellar defensive performance. We almost lost it, though, at the end of the game, but, a win is a win.
A win is a win.
But the Eagles improved to 4-0, beating the Bucs in hot weather over there in Tampa, and the Cowboys tied with the Packers 40-40 on Sunday Night Football, making it the second highest tie game in history.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of either of those teams, but that's got to be an interesting game to watch. Like, I don't know, being a fan of those 2 teams, I'd know their heart was racing. But, I am a Rams fan, so shout out the Rams for now being 3-1, and they beat the Colts 27-20. It was really interesting going into that game because Colts had been undefeated, and as a Rams fan, it was a little stressful. But, they played at SoFi Stadium. Fan energy was hype, so shout out the Rams.
Oh yeah, weren't your parents at the game, Miley?
Yeah, they did go to the game. Yeah, it was my parents, my brother, and his girlfriend. No invite, by the way, but that's totally okay. You can't win them all, but the Rams did win, so we'll go with that. Now moving into UNLV sports this past week, our men and women's golf team both played. The men's golf team played at the Tyndall at Gold Mountain Golf Club. They ended in ninth place with an even par of 864. Our senior, Trevor Lewis, tied for 15th place, and our junior, Zach Little, tied for 26th. So we had two players in the top 30. Congrats, guys.
Yeah, so with those two players in the top 30, it makes you think about, all the UNLV golf alumni. We have Adam Scott, Kirk Katayama, Charlie Hoffman, and many others. But yeah, UNLV does have a good golf program.
Yeah, I mean, seeing these alumni, I'm sure they're proud of their team now. But speaking still on golf, the UNLV women's golf team played at Colorado State's Colonel Wallenberg Ptarmigan Ram Classic at Ptarmigan Country Club. And pardon my pronunciation, but our junior Zi Yung Fong finished her first career victory ever, so congrats to her. UNLV head coach Amy Bush Herzer quoted, "I'm incredibly proud of ZU to not only capture her first collegiate victory, but to do it by firing a personal best score shows the kind of talent, grit, and focus she possesses. This is a tremendous milestone and a testament to her hard work. It's a big win for her and our program." So, coming off of last season for women's golf, I'm really proud of these girls, and I can't wait to see how far they go.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, they showed up and showed out over there in
Colorado State.
yeah, that mouthful of wherever they played at.
Yeah, it's okay. Long name, but we'll get through that. And now, Thomas, women's volleyball.
Yeah, for UNLV women's volleyball, they played at San Jose State on the 25th. Lost 5 sets 2-3, but bounced back at Fresno State, winning 4 sets 3-1.
Yeah, and even that game was kind of a blowout in my opinion. They lost their first set 22-25, but the next 3 sets they all won, of course, and it was 25-19, 25-18, and 25-23. Now moving on to women's soccer again, same schedule as volleyball. They played San Jose State on the 25th and they tied 2-2 and played at Fresno State on the 28th and won 1-0. Men's soccer now?
Yeah, with men's soccer, they played here against UC Irvine on the 26th, and they won 2-0. And how about women's cross country, Miley?
Yeah, so our women's cross country team did actually really well. They competed at the UC Riverside Invitational on the 27th this past Saturday, and the team as a whole finished in 9th, but we had 2 runners in the top 50. So that would be Claire Rance finishing in 40th and Alana Sangprasett in 43rd. Now, the long-awaited conversation. That would be UNLV Rebels versus Wyoming Cowboys this Saturday. Starting off, before we go into stats, what do you think is going to happen?
Right, so it's going to be Mountain West matchups here on out for the Rebels. Sitting at 4-0, they won a couple of thrillers, including that one against Miami of Ohio a couple weeks ago where we were all holding our breath.
Yeah, that was a scary game.
And then for Wyoming, at 2-2, with a 2-game losing streak, they want to win at home against an unbeaten opponent in the Rebels. Hopefully, after this week, if they win, UNLV could possibly be ranked. And then looking at UNLV's upcoming opponents, they got a good chance to run the table.
Yeah.
and possibly make the college football playoff.
I mean, yeah, the Rebels are doing really good so far. The only thing in my mind is that UNLV currently has been, in my opinion, playing down to their opponents. That Miami of Ohio game should not have been anywhere as near as close as it was. Also, going into their rankings currently in the Mountain West, Wyoming is 8th and our Rebels are at 5th. But the only reason I believe is because we haven't played any in-conference games yet. So our in-conference record currently is 0-0. And after this weekend, hoping the Rebels can make it up there and get their deserving place in the rankings. The Wyoming Cowboys, their last couple games they played, they are now 2-2. They played Akron their first game and they won 10-0. And then their next game, they played in Northern Iowa and they won 31-7. Their next 2 weeks, they had some tougher opponents. They played Utah 31-6 and lost. And then they played Colorado and lost 37-20.
Right, exactly. And Utah and Colorado are not easy opponents at all. Last year, Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders being on the Colorado Buffaloes, NFL talent now. And then for Utah, they were previously ranked last year. So,
Yeah, but going on to our Rebels, what were they like these past couple weeks?
yeah, so for UNLV's last few games, starting at 1-0, they beat Idaho State 38-31
Hmm.
here at home, and then went on the road to Sam Houston where they won 38-21. And then back home here at UCLA, where I was actually at that game taking photos, but against what we thought was going to be a tough opponent in the UCLA Bruins, they won 30-23.
I don't know though. That game, you're saying, yeah, we thought they would have won. That game was kind of close too, though. I mean, shouldn't have been that close. There were a couple errors after that game, but a win is a win, as we said earlier. So it's okay. And then moving on to Miami of Ohio.
Right, yeah, with Miami of Ohio, they won 41-38 in a thriller that we previously talked about.
All right, yeah, our Wyoming Cowboys, they have some team leaders, but I may be biased. I don't know if they're as stacked up as our Rebels. Starting off with quarterback Caden Anderson with 711 passing yards. Running back Samuel Harris has 256 rushing yards. Wide receiver Chris Durr Jr. with 290 receiving yards. Linebacker Braden Johnson with 26 tackles. And linebacker Evan Eller with 1 interception. Now, what about our Rebels?
Right, for UNLV, we know who these team leaders are. Quarterback Anthony Calandria, 940 passing yards, and right in the backfield with him, running back Jaden Thomas with 393 rushing yards, and then wide receiver Jada Bradley with 355 receiving yards. They lead this offense to 38.3 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the highest it's been in a while. And then on the defensive side, we got linebacker Marcel McDuffie with 29 tackles, and then defensive back Amaris Brown, who is nationally recognized as he leads the league in interceptions with 4 as of right now.
Yeah, and I mean, going back to that, what you said about total points per game, Wyoming has 16.8 average points per game and 67 points total. They have a total of 8 touchdowns, while our Rebels have 38.3 points per game, 153 total points, and 20 total touchdowns. So, statistically, we would say that the Rebels have a chance. I believe that the Rebels could win. But it comes down to their confidence, their work ethic, and whether or not they are willing to win this game. Whether they're willing to come out strong and get this win for us, because Miami of Ohio, tough start.
Yeah, with this Wyoming Cowboys team, they really only have one prominent receiver in Chris Durr Jr. leading his team with 290 receiving yards. Against a UNLV defense, that does give up a lot of points, especially these last 4 games. It seems that they've been in shootouts, but the overall leadership of Dan Mullen really has accelerated this team to get through those tight situations in these games, and they propel themselves ahead to victory.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Mullen seems very passionate about this team. Even after the games, I know I was at a game, and we got the on-field seats, and one of our friends, he got the visor from Mullen. Shout out Jeremiah. That was you actually, King, in RSN. So I just know Dan Mullen has so much passion for this team. He wants these boys to work hard and get the wins. And I'm really excited going into this week just to see what they can do. Let's hope they don't have a sloppy game. I know they're going to do their best, but they just need a little bit of effort more on the offensive end sometimes.
Right, exactly. Coming from Dan Mullen's leadership and background, he coached in the SEC, brought a lot of that talent over into the Mountain West, as that is a big thing to have SEC talent in the Mountain West, because we really did not have that previously.
Yeah, SEC, not only did he bring that talent, he brought that culture. Going into Allegiant and seeing the UNLV fans, it's hype in that stadium now. Having on-field seats, having the student section filled up, having so many fans come that aren't just students, it's been great. That energy, I know that helps the Rebels, especially during a tough opponent.
Right. Even a couple years ago when they were, at Sam Boyd, that stadium was not even packed up. And then just to move this over to Allegiant Stadium, just bringing that culture of fans that were already there, but, incoming fans to see this team, be successful. And then they got to the Mountain West Championship 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
The season before and then the season before that. It really does bring a lot of attention to the program, and people within the community, neighborhoods, and students on campus that are not that involved with sports are starting to pay attention to the football program.
Yeah, even students that you're right. Students that don't pay attention, they will hear about UNLV football. They will get excited for these games. And having these students excited, that's what brings them to the games. And it's going to be great coming to see these games going forward. I can only hope for the best coming back. But I think that is it for today. Thank you guys so much for listening to this first episode. We'll be coming back next week to talk about the aftermath of this Wyoming game. And of course, Vegas this past week.
And signing off from Rebel Roundtable, the first official podcast on the Rebel Sports Net, I'm Thomas Gabo.
And I'm Miley Palacios. Bye, guys.